fix it, don't fix it, doesn't matter. I can disable it, fine. I emailed it August 10th. I got no response back. 3 days later, I sent in another email and say, hey, heads up, guys. You know, I'm going to be talking about this at AppSec, right? And got no response back. So I had no problem. You know, I guess Apple has their issues. And what's very interesting, I want to say 2 weeks ago now, first week of September, I got a call at my desk from, and I never answer my desk line. It's just a death trap. So, but for whatever reason, I decided to pick up the phone on this particular call, and somebody says, hi, I'm so-and-so from Apple Product Security. I want to talk to you about the vulnerability that, that was disclosed, and, we really take security seriously. We normally handle these things good. We fix things fast, or really communicative, just basically, selling the security program. I said, yeah, cool. And we start to talk, and it's a nice cordial dialogue. And I said, wait a minute, which bug are we talking about? The first one or the second one? And he goes, what second one? I was like, oh, let me forward you an email. and he investigates, he goes, I'm really sorry about that. I kid you not, that night I got an email back from I guess so. So that night I got an email back from Apple Product Security saying, we're aware of the issue and we're getting right on it. I had a nice, again, friendly dialogue. They don't have they don't want to remove the tab feature. They don't know exactly how they're going to fix it, but this is what you can do now. If you choose to not wait for the patch, just disable that feature in autocomplete and you're good to go. Much easier than waiting for a patch. So 64 million people vulnerable right now.
Will that work on that phone, I guess?
I'm sorry?
Will it work on that phone?
No, this is Safari for PCs, Apple's, not mobile Safari.
Okay.
Totally different GUI design. All right, so let's move on, shall we? Pick on Apple enough. All right, what about stealing, name, address, telephone number? That's all cool stuff. That's all the identity data you might need for whatever. What about stealing other autofill information, data that was maybe previously entered in another browser? You know how you type in some information in a form and it saves it for you in the browser, right? Search terms and things like that. Well, for there, we have to go to IE 6 and 7. Again, collectively the world's most popular browser. What I'm about to show you is still not fixed. However, I'm able to. Let's describe the disclosure process here, shall we? So I think I found it in summer of '99, got around to disclosing it in October or November. Found this cool particular bug. I'll show you the demo in a minute. So I hand it over to Microsoft, really great guys, always very responsive. Send it in. I get an email back from a person named Nate, talking about the issue and what I found. They said, we're going to fix it by, I think, April. I said, no problem. They pushed the date back a couple of times. They're having issues with backwards compatibility and fix the issue, no problem. And then something really interesting happened. They emailed me back a link going, have you seen this? And I was like, no, I haven't seen this. So I researched the link, and somebody had published this exact bug publicly back in, I want to say, early 2009. Just no one caught it. No one saw it. It was the exact same research. So technically, it's out in the open. I would like to claim claim credit for this, but it's actually not mine anymore. Somebody else had found it sooner. So but unfortunately for you all, now it's technically out in the open. I can talk about it. So autocomplete, so let me just read this verbatim here. User-supplied form values are shared across different websites by attribute name. For example, the email addresses you enter on one site are shared with the email name of an input type on another site. This feature here is very important. Those circles off here. The form there, that is not enabled by default. I'll get back to that in a second, but this feature is not enabled by default. You have to turn it on, but there's a little gotcha there. When you hit the down arrow, in IE 6 or 7 on an autocomplete form, the down arrow, you get these lists, okay? Just the down arrow. So all we're going to do is simulate keystrokes in the browser. We're going to pick an input type with an input type equals text, name equals whatever the name is, and we're going to simulate down, down, enter, and the value ends in the field. That's the extent of the code that you need to actually pull that off. And you just increment over it. When you want to pull everything out, you just do more down downs and then hit enter, and you can pull out the information. This gives you access to search terms, credit card numbers, CCVs, aliases, other content information, usernames, and email addresses. Let me show you a demo how this works. All right. So this is latest version at the time. Again, this is just WhiteHat time frame. Latest version of IE7. I'm going to show you this particular the config. It is on. Remember, it's not on by default. So this is this browser has been decided. So I've put in different information. You know, I'm just hitting down, down in my browser, just showing the different things are there. I'm going to some random website, and that's how fast it works. It just rotates through it, pulls it all out. The only reason it's visible is because I make it visible for demonstration purposes. It would be easy to send off domain. You just pull it all out, and it works pretty quick, right? Right when you hit a site. Here's the gotcha. The gotcha is that when you type in information, i.e. 6 or 7, I think 8 to some extent, when you type in information, it gives you this dialog. Perhaps you've seen it. It says, would you like to turn on autocomplete? So while it's not on by default, I would imagine a significant portion of users do have this feature turned on because the browser asks you to do so when you fill out a form. Is that fair enough? All right. Fortunately,
Does it only ask you that once?
yeah.
You say no and never bothers you then?
I believe the answer is yes, but I don't know for 100% certain. I think that is it's a one-shot deal. You say no, it's no, but it is actually, the default is yes. So Firefox, you know, definitely one of my favorite browsers, is not vulnerable to reading of autocomplete information, but it did have an interesting issue with respect to writing. You can actually force values to write into autocomplete on any form name that you would like. What you do is you set up a form name, you just dynamically create some kind of input type with a name, and you post it to an iframe. And you can actually cycle this through a lot, really, really quickly. And you can actually use this to just be generally annoying. Dan helped me out researching this one. Each field has a character limit of 200 characters. You can do 100 fields per form input. Would be pretty good for if you have enough time, fill up hard drive space. Just generally annoying, step on other people's data, and so on and so forth. Not the end of the world, but nonetheless, it actually is reported in Mozilla, and I guess it will be fixed sometime. But that's more Dan's department than mine. Any questions so far? All right. Yes?
In the interest of full disclosure,
Sure.
in 2005, the IE bug, Firefox had that too, we fixed it in 2005.
So Firefox had the same bug in 2005 as the IE 6.7 does today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you use that to put XSS into a form field so that the next time they go and select name and pick one of those options that you put in there?
I would imagine so. Yeah, that would be one use case. So as you're stealing autocomplete information, one of the things you're actually stealing is usernames. More specifically, you're stealing email addresses. Email addresses are synonymous with usernames out there for all the major systems out there that I'm aware of. Google, Twitter, Amazon, Netflix, basically everything is your email address is your username for a variety of reasons. Why that is important is for the sake of passwords. Let's go for 1 billion people, shall we? All right, so we have this nice password manager. You ever type in your username, your email address and password, and you hit login, and you have this drop down? Right, it says, remember this password for this particular site. It's very useful. If you guys tell me you don't use it, I want to call you out because I know everybody uses this thing, right? Everybody, yeah. Not, you guys say not anymore, right? So, all right. All right. If a website has non-persistent, or let's say cross-site scripting, it's rare, we know. If it has cross-site scripting, you can actually pull usernames and passwords out of the password autocomplete. What the JavaScript does, so you'd say you create a non-persistent JavaScript, non-persistent cross-site scripting payload. You click the link, it will create a username and password field, a login form on that particular website under that domain, and it will activate the autocomplete. Then you use the JavaScript to pull out the password out of the system. Works really elegantly, it's just one particular click. So let me show you a demo how this works. So, yes.
How the hell can you turn it off? Never ask me for another password.
You can turn it on. There's a pref to do so, and I'll show you the solution for it. It's really good. So, since we have the Firefox guys here, we'll get the Firefox demo going. So this is at the time. Again, this is still active. This is the latest version of Firefox, or relatively so. Save passwords. I'm going to create a save password. Right now, there isn't any. I'm going to log in to the victim website using some email address and some password. Doesn't really matter what it is. Right, log in. Hit the remember button. Great, now it's in the browser. Okay, we're going to use a cross-site scripting vuln. Just run-of-the-mill cross-site scripting found on 70% of the websites out there at least. Payload is remote. Once you hit enter, bang, password, username and password pulled right out of the system. Really quickly, really easily. Everybody got real quiet. So this will work, and I want to say this will definitely work. Let me go back to the slides here for a moment. Oop. Where's my slides?
I mean, just to be clear, that's the password for that particular site.
For that site, that, yeah.
It's not like,
So let's say you know you've cross-site scripted a user on, say, Facebook, and if they happen to save their password, you can try one of these out and try to pull their password out of the system. So to answer the gentleman's question there, you can turn off password autocomplete. There is a config in the basic settings. There's also a little known feature actually that's not part of the GUI. You can't reach this through the options, the normal preferences, but you can get to it through about config. This is called sign-on autofill forms. This gives you one more step. This will actually protect you from, it'll still allow you to save passwords, but it'll protect you from cross-site scripting pulling them out because it requires a user action to autocomplete it. So you have to purposely, shoot yourself in the foot to actually get vulnerable. But it's not available in the GUI. But it is there to be used.
why is that not a default on?
Long answer.
It's the same with us.
It's inconvenient.
Inconvenience.
Same thing we do. It's a usability issue, right? We want to.
We've been arguing about this since at least 2006, and I keep losing.
So but the interesting thing is the feature is there for users that know. Unfortunately, the users, you that come here are not necessarily the victims. Here's where it gets a little worse with the sake of all this autocomplete stealing information. Is the problem is that it's persistent. I don't know if I'm the first person to have found these things. Like, in fact, I know for a fact that I was not. Is that, let's say you wanted to make this problem persistent across the web. I throw this out on an advertising network, and I grab people's names and email addresses on, let's say, where are we at here? On who is this person? Oh, I'm sorry. Let's say this is our bad guy website. I saved I pulled your name and email address, and I gave you a cookie. I ID'd you, right? Now I never have to send out my payload ever again. Fair enough? Because I know who you are. Let's say this website